Start my recording. So I've just started the recording here. And like I said earlier, we are going to cover a couple different ways to report production. Now, both of these these features that we're going to look at aren't entirely new. One of them is a little bit newer, but both are not by definition new. But as well, they're both features that could be used with the social distancing not in play. In other words, if you have your policyholder with you in your office, or if you meet them out in their house, whatever the case may be, what we're going to look at today can certainly be utilized in as well. But we're going to, just like I said, we're going to throw a little bit of a twist at it and try to just think about it with the environment we're in today, in case you or your policyholder are practicing social distancing and you need to gather this information and get it reported, obviously. So the first feature we're going to look at will be from within EASYwriter Pro. I just got a message that says I cannot hear me anymore. Can someone just confirm, did everyone lose audio? I'll just actually type back.
We can hear you.
All right, thank you. Jennifer, if it doesn't, I'm gonna get a bunch now. Jennifer, if it doesn't come back for you, like I said, I do have this record. I will get this recorded and out online, so we can definitely get you a copy of this if it doesn't come back. It might just be a lag of some sort. But like I was saying, the first feature we're going to look at is from within EASYwriter Pro. In order to do that, we're going to just jump into a policy, which I have ready to go here. You can see I'll be playing the part of both agent and policyholder today. And like everything that we do from within EASYwriter Pro, we got to make sure we get that policy open for endorsement. So we're going to go ahead and select that endorsement button. And from here, we're going to navigate over into the quick APH option here. Now, the quick APH is most likely very, very familiar to all of our agents on the call today, as this is where probably 98 to 99% of all production is in fact reported. The new feature, or the feature that we want to look at specifically today, is this button right here, this production import button. And so I'm going to click this real quick and then just kind of give you a little bit of a background of what this is, and then, like I said, tie it into social distancing and what we're dealing with today. So the production import functionality was requested by an agency some time ago with the idea of, hey, I have a couple of some techie policyholders that are really on top of their production and getting things broken down easily. And they conveniently send me, me being the agent, they conveniently send me an Excel spreadsheet of all of their production that's been pulled right directly from their logs, their elevator tickets. And so the request was, I really would like to take that data that's in the spreadsheet and get it uploaded into EASYwriter Pro. And that's what we have here. This is what we're going to be looking at today, is the ability to report your production either by uploading an Excel spreadsheet, which we'll do, or by just simply manually inputting that production data directly from the elevator ticket or that log. Now, with that being said, this is going to be where we kind of look at it from the social distancing part of things. Where I'm just going to real quickly close Teams here so we don't get any more of those. We're still going to need to have the data submitted to us one way or another. So in this case, this will be really helpful if you have your policyholder has the ability to email you their production, excuse me. So we're going to play off of that scenario that my Adam M. Flynn policyholder here emailed me his production data. We jump into here and we're going to import that data. So we're going to start with the Excel side of things, and then I'll show you how to manually enter as well. So in order to use this, I'm going to click this Excel button right here, this blue X with the Excel right underneath it. What that's going to allow me to do is then select a file that I already have saved on my computer. Just like anything else, re-upload or download documents, and you got to first find out where that file is. So I'm going to click this little icon here, which you can see is called the select file icon. From here, it's going to allow me to search my machine, and I have my Excel spreadsheet on my desktop. You can see that I just selected desktop, and my test tickets is what I'm going to use today. The only limitation with this as of right now is it has to be an Excel spreadsheet. So if you have, say, for example, a Microsoft Word document that they may have emailed you, you would just need to copy and paste that into an Excel spreadsheet real quickly in order to use this, this feature. Mine's already in Excel, so we're good to go. So I'm going to select open. It'll populate there for me. And then it's going to ask if I want to select any multiple worksheets. For anyone that's not familiar with Excel spreadsheet, there's actually on the bottom there a series of tabs. Those are all called worksheets. And some can be very complicated in regards to multiple worksheets. So this just allows me to select the appropriate one. In my example, there is only one worksheet, so I don't even need to worry about that right now. So we'll go ahead and select OK. And it's going to bring me to this screen here. Now I purposely deleted all of my templates because I wanted to show you all how you would create a new template and more or less explain what I mean by template. What we need to do is basically inform or communicate with EASYwriter Pro what type of data we want to pull from that Excel spreadsheet that we're going to upload. So we need to create what we're calling a template. So I'm going to name my template real quick. I'm going to first select this Add Template button here, the big green plus sign. And I'm going to name that My Test Template. Okay. You can see there it reflects that name there. Next, what we need to do is to determine if there are any headers on the spreadsheet. My particular spreadsheet does, which is going to be the first row. So I would just need to select that it starts on row 1 and it ends on row 1. If you have a spreadsheet that was emailed to you or sent to you from your policyholder that has no header information, just a series of data, you could just simply say that there is no header, 0 and 0. Now we need to elect where the actual information that we need to pull in begins. Again, in my case, with my spreadsheet, it begins on row 2. I'm going to select that. And then I want to import all of the data to the end of the file. Once I've selected that, you can see some information post through. So let's kind of just break down real quickly what we're looking at here. Over on the left-hand side, the spreadsheet column section, this is the actual header information and the alias or the actual column that header information reflects. This is actually being pulled directly from my spreadsheet. The data preview, the next 3 columns here, are actually the first 3 rows on that spreadsheet that I'm importing. So this is not something that's in EASYwriter Pro already. This came directly off of the Excel spreadsheet that I grabbed from my desktop. And so from here, what we need to do is essentially communicate with this production import where the data is that we need to bring in as production. In order to do that, we're going to utilize this last column here, the user-defined column here. So if I scroll, you can see if I look over, I'm going to reference what's actually on my Excel spreadsheet. What I want to use is my dry weight for today, just for example's sake. You could use your gross, you could use your net weight, you could use, you want to bring it into pounds if you have something that's not in bushels. You can utilize whatever is on your spreadsheet. Today, I'm going to use this column as my production, okay? Now, in order to do that, what I'm going to do is just basically follow along till I get to that column in that user-defined column, follow along on the row till I get to that user-defined column. And in this case, I want to assign that particular column as my production. Okay. Now from here, that's all the system needs. I could upload this and save and continue to move forward and continue to report my production. We also give you the ability to add ticket numbers and any notes that you may want to include. Now I don't, on this particular spreadsheet, have a column that I technically reference as ticket numbers or notes. Let's say that I want to include this row here, my farm, under my notes section. Again, I follow along to my column here, and then this time I'm going to select my notes. And just for example's sake, I'm going to take my moisture, and I'm going to call that my ticket numbers. Again, obviously completely wrong, not really what I would be doing. But I just simply want to show you that you can, with utilizing this user-defined column, basically label and determine what the system's going to pull from that spreadsheet in regards to reporting production. Oops, someone's stuck through my mute there. Let me real quickly fix that. So from here, we are good. Just kind of just full circle, bring it back here. All I needed to do though, once I have my template created and the spreadsheet uploaded, is determine where the production is going to get pulled from. I've utilized all three. So in this case, we're ready to go. Now I'm going to import using this template right here, this button here. I'm going to click that. And we're brought back to the original screen where we selected that Excel button. Now you'll notice, can you have multiple notes? No, unfortunately you cannot. You can see here the reason why is that it's going to bring in just that one column into the notes section here on this screen that we're looking at now. So you would be limited to selecting just one section from your spreadsheet as notes. But like I said, we're brought back to the screen we originally started at, and what we're looking at here is all the information that we pulled from my spreadsheet. Again, this ticket column that I assigned was actually the moisture percentage. I just wanted to simply reference that whatever you assign on the spreadsheet is going to get pulled over. So obviously we're just going to ignore that I utilize moisture as my ticket number. Now from here, you can see I can select save, and then that bold will go away. And that's basically the bold just to give you a visual cue that you have something new in your screen here. But the reason I wanted to show you that is that technically, let's say that I got a phone call, or you needed to run home quick because the water main broke, or X number of examples where you may need to step away for a while. From this point on, the system's not going to require you to do anything. You could back out, you could commit the policy, and then later on when you have time, come back in, and all this data will be here ready for you to continue. But the last step that we technically need to do here in regards to reporting production is to actually assign the units. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can do it manually one by one, which takes a little bit longer than normal. But you can see here that when I selected right here, this is under the unit column. I'm provided with the appropriate units on the policy. Take note that this was all corn. I should have called this out originally, I apologize. We started this all out with our batch of using our corn as a crop. And the options here will only be allowed to be selected based on what's in the policy. Kind of hard to see in the background, but this policy just has corn and soybeans, and we're just working with corn today. So because of that, when I select my unit, I'm only going to be provided with the appropriate corn units. So I'll just select the top one there, for example, and I've just assigned this single line to that unit. You also have the ability to do this on a more of a bulk way of doing it. So I'm just going to randomly select a few lines here. So you can see there I've selected my checkbox. They also highlight in blue, just to kind of give you a little bit more of a visual cue. And this time, instead of bulk assignment, and this time I'm going to select unit 0103. And the reason for that is I want to break it apart and just give you a visual as to what I'm doing. So I'm going to select unit 0103. Now you'll see that those lines I just assigned are broken apart from that first line we did manually as 0101. With the remaining corn production tickets all still considered unassigned. Again, I could save this, continue to work with my unassigned lines here that I haven't assigned a unit to yet. So that's how you would utilize this in regards to importing an Excel spreadsheet. I did say there's two ways to do this, and that's the other way is you can actually manually input this in. And the way you would do that is this green plus sign here. So instead of, if you first get in here, instead of first clicking the Excel spreadsheet, we can select the add button. You'll see here that then creates an additional line. With the difference is instead of the source being that we imported a spreadsheet, this one's going to be manual entry. But everything else will be exactly the same, except for with the exception of I would need to key in that production. Once that's done, you would still then need to assign a unit, just like you would need to assign a unit for any of the production lines that you imported. Now, with all that being said, everything we've just done now, let's kind of bring it back into how do I get this into eSign. But if you recall from last week's call, and if you weren't, got that recorded out on YouTube, there's three ways though you can initiate or begin utilizing eSign within our system. There's through batch printing, there was through the document manager, which is what we did last week, or through the commit process. Sure how one of you is sneaking through my mute there. Through the commit process. That's where this is going to come into play. So let's just play a real life scenario. Again, I'll play part of both agent and insured. My policyholder, Mr. Flynn here, sent me an email with my Excel spreadsheet, with all my production. I then play agent. I come in and I import it in just like we did today. I'm going to pretend that I signed all of these units correctly so that we don't get any errors. And I'm ready to commit this policy. So I'm just going to close this out. You'll see that's already reflecting production here. And I'm going to pretend that we hit save. I'm not going to hit save because it's going to throw off a bunch of errors for inconsistent yields and things like that. But let's pretend that I hit save here. Okay. Yes, I want to continue without saving. I would then commit my policy just like before. And I would actually just bring up a screenshot because I don't want to commit this policy because I need to keep it in production required status. And I'll show you why shortly here. But I hit commit button. I get my commit endorsement up here. And before I actually finally hit the last commit button, I ensure that this checkbox right here is selected, new documents. Can you add, no, I think that's Jeff or maybe Jenny. No, you cannot add a new unit from that screen there. That's that screen that we were just looking at is just your typical quick APH screen. And so no, you'd have to add a new unit prior to beginning that process. Good question though. But again, before you hit this final commit button, if you ensure that this checkbox is checked, you're going to initiate creating a document via the commit process. And that is where we would then begin starting that eSign functionality. We've committed, we've reported production, we've committed it. Now I can send that APH report off for getting that final signature to my policyholder. So that is the first of two different ways I wanted to show you how to report production with social distancing in mind. The other way I want to show you is, and I'm just going to real quickly kind of talk while I get it set up, is with my iPad through the NAU Country mobile app. So that's loading up now here. So I'm just going to get this screen mirrored over to my machine. I just want to make sure that I'm not showing any personal information here. So I'm just going to real quickly keep it on my other monitor for just 2 seconds. I'm just going to do a quick agency filter, which I've got done there. All right, we are ready to show. So what I have on the screen now, and I'll give it just a second in case there's a little bit of a delay or a lag. Quick question, that's perfect time. I'll just read this question out loud to everyone. Does this work for multiple production years? For instance, I have to build out multiple units for a brand new policy with multiple production years. Does this work for multiple production years? I don't know, to be honest, James, I'm not entirely sure I follow on the question. I apologize for that. But I guess I'll just answer that what we've seen, so what I just showed would have been crop year specific. We were in the 2020 EASYwriter Pro system, and we were reporting the 2019 production, and that's the only production I could have reported with using that import functionality would have been, in this case, that 2019 acre planted production information. I hope that answers your question. But back to what we're looking at here. So what I'm sharing here is my NAU Country mobile app. I've logged in as, again, I'll be playing part of both agent and insured. But I've logged into the agency I'm going to work with here today. This is what you would see if you're not familiar with the app. When you first log in, you're going to see along the left-hand side a series of your policyholders, a list. And to begin working with any given particular policy, you need to first select them on the list here. So I'm going to select the exact same policy that I have running in the background here in EASYwriter Pro. Actually, let me real quickly just cancel that endorsement. All right, now we're good. Now, just kind of reference why I didn't want to actually commit that policy that we were just working on in EASYwriter Pro is because the functionality that we're going to look at from within the app will only actually appear if the policy is in a production required status. And if I had committed that policy in EASYwriter Pro, it would automatically bump it over to an acres required status, and the functionality I need to show you would no longer be available here. So that's why I needed to cancel it, and I just showed you a screenshot of that commit screen. So back to the app though, we're ready to go. I'm going to select my policy, the crop year, in this case 2020. And then I'm going to scroll down on the right-hand side. You can see there, I'll go a little slower just in case there's, again, some delay. But you can see I'm scrolling down to is what I want to use in the actions menu, which is our production reporting. Again, if the policy is an acres required or complete status for that matter, this option will just not be there altogether. It'll be completely gone. And you'll just see acres reporting jump right over into claims. So today I'm just going to go ahead and select that option. And what it's going to do is bring up a map of all of our fields shortly here. Give it a second to load. And then on the right-hand side will be our unit list. I'll kind of break down what we're looking at on the unit list before we actually begin reporting production. So there you go. You can see the map just showed up for you. So on the right-hand side, under the unit list, you'll see this button here that says REQ. And that just stands for required. And what this is actually telling me is that on this particular policy right now, there are 3 units that require some production to be reported. And this is where we're going to be working out of. But if I tap this button, it'll also show me all of the units. And you'll see that that list got a little bit larger, but some of them, 4 of them or 5 of them, have this little lock icon. And what that is telling me is that basically there's a reason, there's several reasons that that lock will appear, that we can't report production on this unit. It could be because there's a claim on it. It could be because there's a compliance review on it. There's a lot, like I said, a lot of different reasons. 9 times out of the 10 though, if you see that lock icon, it's because there were, in this case, no 2019 acres planted on that unit. And you can see here, it might be tough to see because I'm sharing my screen, but right here at reference that this unit 0102 of corn in this case had 0 acres reported in 2019. Ergo, I can't report production on it. So again, I got to this screen here by clicking what was the required button to reflect all units. And if I tap it one more time, it's going to bring in the complete list. Now in this case, it's blank because we haven't began reporting production. So I'm going to tap it one last time, and it's going to bring me back to my required unit list there. From here, we're ready to begin reporting production. Now there's 2 different ways you can do this. I'll show you the first way, and then I'm going to real quickly just back right back out to the front or to the initial screen that we're looking at here now, and highly, highly recommend you do it the other way. But the first way you can do it is by actually starting by clicking on the individual fields. For anyone that's familiar with the acres reporting functionality that's available in the app, clicking the field is definitely where you want to start in regards to that functionality. You'll see that when I tap that field, it brings up the unit information that's tied to this field itself. And then we would begin to key in that production. So that's one way. And like I said, I'm going to tap this back list, this button right here. It's an actual back button. The other way, the way I highly recommend it, is to just utilize the unit list. And reason being, the vast, vast, vast majority of all production reported is reported by unit. In other words, you don't have an insured out there that's actually keeping their production number separate by field outside of precision ag, which then we would already be past all this anyways. So I highly recommend, if you're going to utilize this functionality, that you select the actual unit you want to report production. Now just keep in mind that we're still operating under the scenario, and you can see it brings me to the same screen anyways, but we're still operating under the scenario that you were able to have your policyholder either email it to, mail it in the mail, however, you were able to still obtain that production information just like before when we were working within EASYwriter Pro. So from here though, all we need to do is simply key in the production. You can see there it's referenced with a required status and a little informational icon. In order to do that, I'm just going to tap on the space there, and I'm going to just real quickly key in some production. You'll see that once I tap off of that tab there, it's going to automatically build a yield for me. Now, if I were to try to save this and commit it, I'll probably get an inconsistent yield error, which I'm not going to do, but just want to use that as an opportunity to call out that the same validations in different checks, basically, that EASYwriter Pro provides you just to ensure that mistakes aren't made are also in play here in the app. It's going to catch that, hey, that's 276 yield corn just probably didn't really happen. So in this case, I'm just going to real quickly edit this information to basically avoid any errors that I could create. That's a little more believable. So we've entered our production. You can see it's going to automatically calculate the yield for me. Below the yield, we can select the yield type. In this case, I'm going to keep it on actual yield. And then you can also view your APH history for this unit. In this case, 2019 still blank, just because we haven't reported production quite yet. So that's just basically what we're seeing on this unit detail. All we needed to do, and I could have skipped all of this remaining stuff here, is key in the production, and I could just simply tap this unit list back button. You'll notice now that I do have production keyed, we have this blue check mark next to the actual unit. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap this back unit list button. And what used to be 2 units of corn, now we only have 1. So I'm gonna real quickly repeat that exact same process, maybe just a little bit quicker. Keeps doing math in my head wrong. I just don't want to create any errors that's unnecessary for today. Again, so I've keyed in production. I'm going to tap in this unit list. You'll notice that the fields are coloring, reflecting the crop that we reported production on for that unit. So we'll do that last unit of soybeans, 38 acres. Small yield of soybeans this year. And we'll select the unit list button back one last time. Now, like before, when we were looking at the completed list before, how that was blank, now we're seeing the required unit list blank. If I were to tap this a few times to get back into that complete list, now you'll notice those units are reflected there because we've obviously reported production. So from here, we're ready to get this submitted. So I'm going to hit this complete button here. Same insured statement of review they would see on their APH report. This is more or less the same thing they would also see if you were reporting acres in the app. So I scroll down. I'm going to select this tap here to accept, which brings me to this screen here. Now this is where it's going to get just a little, I don't know what the right word would be, a bit of a curveball. So again, we're still operating under the idea that this is social distancing. My policyholder emailed me my information, or their information, and I'm just utilizing the app to get that inputted. But as you can see here, it's asking for, in this case, the insured, it's asking for his or her signature. And what am I supposed to do there when we're practicing social distancing and they're not here with me right here and now? This is also why I made that statement that everything we're looking at today could very much be used in real life when we're not dealing with the pandemic right now. So in this case, what we need you to do, if you're going to use this particular feature for reporting production, is to simply, and I'm going to just real quickly, it's going to be chicken scratch here, but I'm just writing see our document. Okay. What I'm doing here is because all your underwriters are going to get all this information. They're going to get this document that we're about to create sent to them in what we call workflow. And obviously, when your underwriter pulls it up and sees see hard document, they're not going to let that fly for a signature, nor should they. What we're going to do here is once we're done, this document we're going to create, and I'll show you here. I'm just going to continue hitting next here. Basically, everything else is the same. And I'm just going to say that said see hard document, okay? Hit next one last time. I'm going to hit submit. And what this is going to do is going to bring up an APH report for me right here in the app. From within the app here, you have the ability to email it to yourself, print it if it's connected to a wireless printer, whatever the case may be. But the reason I wanted to show you this document is that this document we created, you can probably kind of a little harder to see. These signatures, this document, this APH report became a document of record. and simply just those signatures can't be accepted. We have the production reported. It's all there. It's ready to go. What we would need to do, or what you and I, if we're playing part of agent, would need to do then is to, I'm going to minimize my iPad, jump back into EasyWriter Pro. And if I key in that policy number here real quick, this is a good test to see how quick our demo environment communicates with each other. Okay, look at there, acres required. So the production's there. What we just did in the app is already reflected in EasyWriter Pro. But again, we created an APH report with unvalid signatures. What we would need to do then, playing part of agent, is come into EasyWriter Pro and utilize what we learned last week with our eSign process and generate a new APH report with eSign. I won't go through this because, like I said, we talked about this all last week. So with this particular way of reporting production, where you do it through the app, we're essentially creating two different documents. One, which was what we utilized to actually report the production, and we had to just fake the signatures, please see hard document. The second document, which I would have done right now, will be the actual document that gathers the appropriate signatures, which would have been done through eSign. Again, and I won't go through all that just because we did that all last week. But that's essentially what I wanted to show you all today in regards to production reporting, and it's a different couple of ways you can utilize some of our technology to get that production reported while keeping distance from your policyholders. Last week I pulled everyone off of mute, and it was like I just hit a grand slam in the World Series with all the feedback. So I'm not going to make that mistake again today, but I will stay on the call. I'll extend this all the way out to noon if I need to, and we'll just simply address questions that come through on the chat. If though you do not have any questions, please feel free to jump off the call. And I'll just say quickly that thank you for taking some time out of your morning or afternoon if you're on the East Coast for joining today's call. Again, thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day. Again, I'll stay on the line here and just keep an eye on the chat bar for a while for any questions that may come in. As well, for those who do stay on the call, I'll read the questions out loud. That way we can all get the answer. One question actually came in from an NAU employee that was just sent to me, and the question was, could the agent yourself email the document that we were looking at on my iPad? Close them real quick, I'll bring it back up. So the question was, can you take this document, there you go, take this document and send it in for the eSign signature? Unfortunately, not right now. There's two phases to our eSign functionality, and one of them is looking at how we can expand, if you will. But currently, as today, I'll just simply say that the eSign functionality exists and only lives within EasyWriter Pro. So this what we just looked at today, this document is already a permanent document of record. And so in order to use eSign, we would need to then create it or initiate a new document to gather that signature. Question came in that was not on the call last week. How do I get the customer to sign it on eSign? I would suggest, because that's another probably 45 minutes, just kind of looking at that different functionality. If you'd like, I would suggest maybe reaching out to your marketing rep. They can walk you through that, or reference that YouTube video that we have outlined, which walks you exactly through from step by step how to use that eSign functionality in EasyWriter Pro. Oh, it looks like Zach beat me to the punch there. Can last week's session on eSign be viewed on YouTube? That is correct. Yes, it can. You would just jump into youtube.com. Let's just actually do that together here. Why not? So my son, he's 4 years old. He uses my YouTube account. So if there's Transformers on the screen here, that's just because that's what he likes to watch. So give it a second here to bring up YouTube. also like 80s. So we got a little mix here. I listen to music. My son listens to Transformers. But if I just search for NAU Country, jump into our page here, and there's actually the actual video itself right there. But if you just jump into the actual channel for NAU Country Insurance, a couple of ways you can do this. You can jump into our playlist, or if you just select videos, you'll be able to see all videos. And this is the particular video that was from last week, which covers all eSign functionality. Thank you, Hope. Hope just included that link as well. I appreciate that. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? I don't see any further questions coming up. There we go. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate the feedback there. But I don't see any other actual questions coming in, which is absolutely A-okay. Thanks, John. So I'll call it a day for now. And again, just say thank you for those that stuck around for any questions here that came through the chat. Again, any questions, once you get out there and play with it, please go ahead and push those questions to your reps, to your underwriters, to your branch managers. They're more than prepared to help you guys out. And again, thanks a lot and have a great rest of the day. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Adam.